Hello everybody, how do you do? My name is Adrian Montano. I'm a trainer and excellence coach at Mindgrasp, and welcome to another one of our live videos, this time in the series about values and the personal evolution through values levels. Now, over the past few days, we've talked about the importance of correctly understanding values and how they help us to get a grasp, to wrap our minds around the causes for human behavior and why different people behave and interact in such apparently mind-boggling ways. Also, why humanity, why our global society is nowadays at the point where it is. So we've talked about how values are pretty much are universal because everybody has values. So the idea of good and bad values is actually nonsense, since values are simply what is important for a specific person or a group of people, and also how values are an adaptive response to the challenges of an environment. So the way people prioritize what they do in order to match the challenges, how the environment, what the environment throws at them. We've also talked about how values influence people's worldview, and how Claire Graves, the American industrial psychologist, studied the possibility of evolving through values levels, each of them centered around a specific theme, a specific central core element, which determines how they behave. So, and how this evolution through values levels on an individual scale replicates what's been happening on the global scale throughout human history, just like the evolution, the transformations of the human embryo in the womb mirror the biological evolution and the evolutionary stages of species throughout our biological history. We've also talked about how the evolution through values levels is possible, but it's by no means guaranteed for any single person. And it all depends on how you choose to move from one environment to the other. We've discussed the elements that influence where somebody is with respect to their values. So, their neurology, as in their acquired behaviors, their learned and rehearsed behaviors, so the ones that they end up doing without even thinking about it, the words that they use to name their values, and of course the environment in which they are, which can be more or less complex and more or less challenging. And consequently, we've talked about why there are no good or bad values because of this. Simply more or less well suited values depending on what one finds in one's medium. And we've also talked about how values levels have formed at different stages in the evolution of human society and where that's brought us nowadays. So, to preface today's talk, we've talked about values levels 1 through 5, and to preface today's talk, I just want to introduce another element beyond what we've discussed yesterday. So, how you couldn't say, at least in the Western world, that people are their values levels, but rather everybody is way more complex than that. And very likely everybody is going through different aspects of different values levels in various areas of their lives. What I'd like to add to that today is to mention that you cannot fully go through a values level until you've checked off, until you have satisfied and saturated all the concerns, all the major concerns specific to that value level, which in turn releases your focus, releases your energy, and allows you to develop more complex behaviors and move on to the next values levels. And this is particularly important as we move on discussing about values level 6. So just to do a very quick roundup, we said about how value level 1 is centered on bare life and basic animalistic survival. Values level 2 is centered on kinship, the tribe, and blood relations. And values level 3 is about power, self-aggrandizement, and obtaining the immediate satisfaction of one's needs and pleasures. Values level 4 is centered on the idea of a core book or text of rules which define pretty much every single element in one's life, define right from wrong for all those people who embrace it. And somebody's saying go value level 5. Hi, Adrian, by the way. And hi, Alina, as well. Yes, and we're getting to values level 5 right away. So, and values level 5 is about so it's the first point when human consciousness and self-consciousness develops in holistic way. So one becomes aware of who they really are, who they really want to be, and they start using their rationalistic processes to think themselves the way to success. People start being open to understanding the world. So as I was saying yesterday, values level 5 was born in the Western world along with the Renaissance and with modern science, the scientific approaches to understanding the natural world. And so it's very much focused on understanding how the world works in order to get oneself to succeed. So value level 5 has a lot to do with understanding that people build whatever systems exist in the world, and that systems are not necessarily divinely ordained. So the value level 4 systems, whether philosophies, religions, rule books, organizational charts, they're all man-made, and value level 5 embraces it and decides, okay, well, you know what, I can do that by myself, and I can build my own organization, my own system, and I can constantly tweak it, gear it to success, which is anathema for values level 4 that wants everything to be set in stone and last forever. So value level 5 embraces change, loves change, because it wants more, better, more extraordinary, more exciting things, and it wants status. So it wants to show off to the world that, look at me, I've used my mind and I've changed my behavior, so I've gotten to success. And I was saying yesterday that neurolinguistic programming was born within a values level 5 context, because it is a set of attitudes and disciplines and techniques that are geared towards understanding the human psyche and human behaviors in a very pragmatic way, so as to change what's not working and transform oneself in order to achieve what one desires, so to achieve one's goals, whatever they may be. Now, we also said that values level 5 is at the basis of the current global corporate system and the problems that has gotten us, namely the exploitation of human life and the exploitation of the environment. And that is pretty much the standoff that we're in right now, because on the one hand we want prosperity, and on the other hand we want to keep existing as a species on Earth in balance with everything else. And this is pretty much the point where values level 6 thinking came to be. So values level 6 thinking, especially after World War II and reaching a peak alongside the transformative mental revolutions of the 1960s and 70s, the hippie movement in all across the Western world. The values level 6 is the first point where the genuine concept of humanity comes along, and that we are all in this together as humankind. Values level 6 is centered on compassion and living within a group in which everybody understands each other and everybody leaves room for everybody else's opinions, a group in which tolerance thrives, and mutual compassion as well as support. Values level 6 is also very much focused, is very metaphysical, as much as value level 5 is materialistic, focused on material, professional, business success. Values level 6 is very spiritual, or at least it wants to be spiritual. Values level 6 is the first point where people start feeling energy, feeling, the vibes, man, and opening up to the perspective that there is a world beyond the concrete world. And I'm not talking about the dogmatic perspective of values level 4. I'm talking about genuinely feeling inside that there is more to this world than the very concrete matter that we are experiencing on a regular day-to-day basis. Now, values level 6, so people transition from values level 5 to values level 6 when they get to the point of feeling really, really guilty about what they've done in values level 5. So they feel guilty for how they exploited natural resources or other people for the sake of their success, or at the point when, okay, let's say they've obtained success, professional success, without any of the bad stuff, so in harmony with other people, in a completely win-win perspective, and they realize, well, that's not enough. I'm actually miserable, and I realize that I don't even know my children's names anymore. True story, by the way. It's based on a real case. I don't get along with my family. I feel empty inside, and okay, fine, I've made all this money, but what does it add up to? And nothing gives me satisfaction anymore. So the values level 5 starts meditating and starts going to yoga classes and starts embracing a spiritualist approach to the world. The problem with values level 6, because I was saying there is a dark side to every values level, and in fact this is a good point to introduce this new concept about understanding values and the evolution through values levels. There is a positive, and I'm saying positive with inverted commas, and also negative with inverted commas. We'll quickly see why. There's a positive and a negative side to every values level, like the two sides of the coin. And we're just talking about the conscious and unconscious parts of each values levels. Whatever you are not conscious of, you, as I was saying in my talk about the NLP communication model, you project on the outside in a harmful way for yourself and for others. So that by that projection, you become aware of what you weren't paying attention to up to that point. If you had been paying attention to it, your unconscious mind would have no need to draw your attention to it by, pushing your buttons or installing the buttons in the first place. So the dark side to values level 6 in this respect is the fact that it doesn't really get much done because it wants to sit around, meditate, and get in touch with the spiritual world all the time. I mean, values level 6 feels really good. After all the competition, the insane competitiveness of values level 5, the insane chase for success, values level 6 feels like a breeze, like a hayride. And in values level 6, oh, hi, Sorian. Thanks for joining. Values level 6 feels amazing from this point of view. So the flip side is that it doesn't get much done. It's not, it only sits around. And values level 6, once again, is group focused, just like values level 4 and 2. So it won't move ahead on any personal project until it has a group consensus, and value level 6 yearns to have the approval of everyone in the group, not on the basis of a set of rules, a dogma like in values level 4, but simply based on the shared compassion, shared humanistic values, just like everybody else in the respective group. So what happens with people who transit to values level 6, so mainly to values level 6. Oh, hi Roxana, how's it going? Is that they tend to not advance with their lives and their projects, and the world is still the world around them is still being mainly run and influenced by values level 5 corporations or values level 4 governments, each with their more or less um, humanly suitable agendae. So the situation we're in now globally is that, especially after the economic crisis of 2007, 2008, a lot of people who had started to move in the business world had created their small businesses. So slowly but surely transitioning to values level 5, due to hardship, they were pushed back to values level 4, so to being to working for someone. And in fact, this is a common coping mechanism when stuff hits the fan, as they say. So when you are in an extreme situation, you revert, in a crisis situation, you revert to the last values level that you've completed. So if you call your parents, then you revert to values level 2. You know that's the last values level you completed. If you revert to behaving like life is a jungle and you need to destroy the competition in order to thrive, that's values level 3 behavior. If you run to your holy book or to the organizational rule book, that's you revert to values level 4. If you call your lawyer or you call your accountant, then you revert to values level 5. And lots of people, in the context of the economic crisis and the economic uncertainty that's followed, and which recently, because of international political turmoil, because of the uncertainty following Brexit, for instance, recently all that turmoil has only amplified, the uncertainty has amplified, and people have reverted more and more from their budding entrepreneurship into values level 5 on back to values level 4. So that poses a global challenge, because we're left, as I was saying, with global corporations and governments. So on the one hand, global corporations, on the other hand, governments, with nothing to, or very little to challenge them on behalf of the common folk. And people trapped in values level 6, or people trapped thinking they already are in values level 6. Because as I was saying previously, until you've checked off all the typical aspects of a particular, all the themes, all the major preoccupations of a certain values level that you're going through, you cannot advance to the next values level. So, and that's actually a very widespread trend around the world, with values level 6 thinking that is promoted by values level 4 organizations. So, for instance, the United Nations or governments, organizations promoting values of humanity, compassion, goodwill, which is all nice and fine, but people adopt them without genuinely having gone through values level 5. So having a business and making money, being successful to such an extent that they completely overflow their need to prove themselves, and they can genuinely advance to values level 6. And this is a process that holds people's evolution holds the evolution of their consciousness, and prevents them from challenging the global dichotomy that I've just mentioned. Now, one solution arises next with values level 7, but we are going to talk about that in our next live video, because this is where things get, at least in my opinion, really, really interesting. All I'm going to say today is that the first 6 values levels, and this is one of, I would say, the main takeaways from the work of Claire Graves, the first 6 values levels are about, comprise a cycle which is a cycle of survival. Only with values level 7 do we start going through a cycle which is about thriving and truly unleashing human potential. Claire Graves considered and named the dynamics that he explored with the evolution through values level spiral dynamics, because as you progress through values levels, you come back to the same themes but in a more complex fashion, as though climbing through a spiral. So tomorrow we start looking at what happens once you go past values level 6, when and new perspectives open up in completely mind-boggling ways. Thank you very much for listening today, and oh, hi Alina. Thank you for being part of this very interesting exploration into the challenges of humanity and the challenges that we individuals face in this context. We will explore more of it tomorrow, and I'm very much looking forward to find you here again. Once more, I'm Adrian Montano, trainer and excellence coach at Mindgrasp, and I look forward to see you tomorrow.